All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our professional development webinar for the beginning of April. It's going to be presented by Thomas Mantzkides, and Guillermo Gasca from Morton College. And as you've probably already seen, it's in regards to how they have pivoted and to provide support for a virtual bookstore on their campus. Seems like we're all doing a lot of pivoting lately and embracing um, new roles on our campuses. So we're going to look forward to that. Um, we are going to provide a link to our. Oh, there goes our emergency alert notification above me. Sorry if you guys caught that. Anyway, we're going to provide a feedback link in the messages. We'd love for you to fill that out and provide us some feedback when we wrap things up today. And then also, just as a reminder, No Rock strives to model inclusion in all of our professional development opportunities by connecting all members, welcoming all ideas, and operating through multiple formats. So we're very pleased to have our presenters with us today and look forward to what they have to offer. Gentlemen?
Hello, good morning, everybody. Thanks again, Andy, for the introduction. I'm Thomas. Again, I'm the circulation librarian. Guillermo is the associate director of the library. I'll be going through the slides, and at the end of the presentation, love to hear from everybody with questions for both Guillermo and I. So let's get started. Today, we wanted to talk about kind of a unique, I would say, role that we at Morton College have adopted over the past, I'd say, year right now, of providing support for our online only virtual bookstore. So I'm going to kind of go over a brief background of our history and how things got to this point and how we've been managing kind of flying by the seat of our pants to make things run smoothly here. So, okay, I'm just going to briefly discuss our demographics here, just to give you an idea of where we're located. Basically, just outside west of Chicago, community. There's um, about five of us here at Berwyn, Cicero, Forest View, Lyons and McCook, and Stickney, where we have a community college here. You see on the screen the demographics. There's about 5,400 credit students, the majority being female at 59%, 84% Hispanic population. The average age is about 24. And as far as employees, there's about 359 employees here, 57% full time. Again, this data is from about a year and a half ago, so things may have changed, but this was the most relevant or most up to date that I was able to find on our website. A brief background, yeah, that picture is our former home, which we called home until about December of 2021. In the place where we were, I see Guillermo's a little sad about that. Yeah, this brings back some nostalgia, some good memories for us because we had a large space. In fact, we had the largest computer lab on campus. Basically, we had like 90 live computers and students were in and out all day. But at the same time, we were also being confused even back then with the bookstore. I guess maybe even though we have the Spanish word biblioteca, people would also, I guess, confuse us. Where is it? Libreria would be bookstore, I think, and so we get confused.
Libreria.
Libreria. So yeah,
Yeah.
so we would get confused anyways. And the bookstore was actually not too far from us. It was in the building next to us, down the hall. But we got along well with our bookstore, and I bring up the relationship because I've been to a few OER workshops and presentations where there was always talk about, well, how is the bookstore going to react to OER, open educational resources? is there going to be tense relations with the library? And that has not been our experience. It had not been even back then our experience at all with our bookstore. We got along well with them. We didn't have too much of a relationship, but I would at the beginning of every semester reach out to them to ask to see what books are being used for the semester and what books they're selling basically, so I could see if we have any of those titles. We could place them on reserve so we could ensure that all of our students have access to them for heavily used titles. And so those titles would get tagged with a reserve mark label and would not be eligible for being borrowed or requested by iShare libraries or other interlibrary loan requests. Um, the only time, I think the first time I asked for the list, I think I did, the manager did ask us why we wanted it. And I just explained to her, this helps with our collection development too. We see if there's books we can also order based on the kind of subjects we see are being covered on college. So are there other like related book titles that we could order for our collection? And she was fine with that. And for several semesters at the beginning, she would supply me with that list. Um, Saying that, I would purchase the cheaper stuff, right? So if I saw like a Charles Dickens novel, that was like a $10 paperback, I'd buy that. Textbooks obviously is a different story. Our policy was, and it still is, not to purchase textbooks. Not that we don't have some in our collection, but obviously the reasons behind our policy is, of course, the price. Obviously, textbooks are very expensive, and they're updated frequently. So what can be relevant one year might not be as relevant the following year. And also, because of our space, we lost a significant amount of space. We had to weed. Um, I don't remember maybe 70% of our collection, our print total. Guillermo, is that right?
Yeah,
Um,
70%.
yeah, so around that. So we, because we have a limited space now in our new home, which is actually our main collection is housed behind the circulation desk, so we're not even really that open. We just don't have the space to buy a lot of stuff. So, but we do what we can. If we see something that's cheap and it's there's a demand for it, we'll try and order it and place it on reserve for our students and community.
In addition, just another thing to add to that is, in addition to that, we also reach out to faculty to see if they want, if they have books that they want to place on reserve, because there are some times where faculty have reader editions, and they'll place that on reserve with us.
That's right. That's right. So when I was looking for literature out there, I was looking basically for doing keyword searches of libraries and bookstores and colleges, and I didn't find anything really that suggested other libraries are kind of in the position that we are, that I'll get into a little bit later, of kind of managing or providing customer service and knowing the ins and outs of ordering books and accessing codes and all that. Basically, the stuff that I was finding is related to, again, open educational resources. It had to do, and I've highlighted the keywords in some of these journal article titles. It's about textbook affordability and what the library's role and connection with that is. Um, so I did not see anything where that would suggest the library has kind of taken over for a bookstore, or I hope I don't know if we're pioneers or if we're if we're one of the few, but basically my literature review suggested what the library's role would be in kind of offsetting the expensive costs, with purchasing ebooks, building the reserve collection, things of that nature. So you might ask yourself, what happened to the Morton College bookstore? And has some pictures of the old bookstore still exist? And as you see, there were more than books. We would sell T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, drinkware. Um, just really briefly, when the physical bookstore went away and all the books went like became virtual, there was a small for a brief period of time there was a spirit store that sold t-shirts mostly and some, I guess, drinkware, but a lot of the other stuff that they sold, that I always used to like to go to the bookstore to get aspirin, that was no longer available. And unfortunately, that's spirit store again. All that stuff, hats and shirts, that didn't succeed, and that's also available just on the website now. So that space has also gone away. So just to give you a brief history, we did have our own independent bookstore prior to 2018, about 6 years ago. A decision had then was made to privatize the bookstore. Of course, the potential benefits would include cost savings, and in the press release that I have here, it said that the total benefit would be nearly $1 million, which would have provided capital improvements, student scholarships. Money would have gone to student clubs and organizations, and also an emergency scholarship fund for the life of the contract. Um, so the contract went to Follett, that corporation, over Barnes and Noble and eCampus. So there was a comparison made between those three options, and we decided to go with Follett. Of course, as everybody knows, early 2020, when COVID hit, everything went online, and I think that gave our administrators an idea that with the rise of more online online courses, online classes being offered, and the higher demand on digital materials, there was a decision made about a year and a half later in 2021 to do away with the physical bookstore. At the time, the bookstore space was located right next to the cafeteria on campus, and there was a plan to develop a culinary arts program, and that would have made sense because it was adjacent to the kitchen for prep. Of course, those plans have also fallen through. And what after we moved in and we stayed there in the old bookstore space for about a year and a half. Um, That space right now is kind of sitting empty, although there are plans to um, turn it into a multi-purpose room for workshops and meetings. But as of right now, yeah, it's kind of a dark space on campus. So anyway, the virtual bookstore was marketed to the campus as featuring convenient ordering and shopping options and accessible online customer service support. And please note that that's only online customer service support that was uh, included in the email. At the same time, we were going through our own changes. In fact, the whole campus was basically going through a huge change. As I mentioned earlier, we lost our huge space because the Morton College library was going to be turned into a one-stop center, which housed several popular departments. So it'd be kind of a one-stop shop for people to go for academic advising, financial aid, cashier operations were in there. Everything was located in there. So in the meantime, while our new space was being reconfigured, which was directly above our old space, we had to move somewhere. And so since the bookstore had gone away, that space opened up for us. Of course, it was much smaller than our space. That necessitated a lot of weeding. If anybody's interested in going into the archives, I presented about that a couple of years ago, so I won't go into the details here. But our temporary location was the old bookstore space. So that was December 2021. So in the spring of 2022, when more and more people were coming back on campus, and some students had obviously, not everyone reads their mass emails or press releases, and some students were back on campus after taking a couple of years off. They saw us in the old bookstore space, and of course, through the glasses, we had books. But they weren't for sale. They were library books. But it would be natural. It would for people to put two and two together and think, "Oh, wow." this is the bookstore. They look a little different, but this has to be the bookstore on campus. And a lot
Can
of
I just make can I just make one comment on that? This is this is after removing the word bookstore from the whole space and actually putting library in there. Students still thought we were the bookstore.
yeah, not. I think you all know who work in libraries. Not everybody reads signs. And actually, I still think there are a couple of old bookstore signs on campus, which of course are outdated, but those have yet to be removed. So we'll see. We'll see about getting that up, those signs updated. But in the meantime, yeah, people were looking at us as the bookstore. It was kind of still a very a new idea, maybe a revolutionary idea that we wouldn't have a physical store on campus. And at the time, that hit us kind of by surprise that we were getting all these questions, but we weren't trained. Except for redirecting people to the online customer support, we weren't able to provide much in the way of help. So that leads us to a new role we saw is more and more people were coming to us with books or related questions. We knew that there was a new role for us on campus. Obviously, as I mentioned, there was a decline in physical book circulation, so that kind of freed up some of our time and skills and to address something different because numbers had gone down, and like it or not, we were losing a significant portion of our space. So um, at the time, we were also transitioning from our previous director who took on a different position on campus to a new library director position, which Guillermo eventually was tasked with filling. And the job description was, basically asking for someone to overlook the virtual bookstore, that we be the contact, I mean, contact for bookstore related questions. So it wouldn't fall all on us, though. The responsibilities, since there was a brand new one-stop center, and we were trying to get the word out to all students that our departments can basically, you can come into one place and we could be very helpful and very uh, showing you our other departments would be glad and willing to help you navigate all kinds of questions you had about Morton College and the experience of buying books and all that. So basically, we shared the responsibility with other departments such as academic advising, student activities, instructional technology, and the academic dean's office. But of course, the library being traditionally associated with books, people, even I think instructors would direct students to us first before the other um, departments. Yes, go ahead, Guillermo.
Just a quick note. The reason we had we had shared responsibilities with other department was, in fact, the academic dean's office did not. The administration actually pushed for the library to be the contact, but the dean actually pushed back and was like, we can't we can't just have one point of contact. Students, not all students go to the library, so we need various points of contact for students, and so they were the ones who suggested academic advising, student activities, and instructional technology, and that actually helped out a lot because it made it so that we weren't the sole like customer service for this.
Right, right. Okay, so this was about a year after we were getting a lot of these questions. Finally, a training session was offered in April 2023. Because at the time, I mean, we weren't. again, we were just redirecting people. We weren't tasked with anything more than saying, well, you're having issues accessing your books. Here's a phone number. Here's an email. This is the website. They have a lot of FAQs on there. But, that wasn't always cutting it. People obviously prefer in person. A lot of the times, not all the times, but a lot of times people just want their answers or their questions answered right there and then. And it would be better customer service to provide answers in person, we thought. But the training was offered a couple of times. It was the same session offered to different people who couldn't make it all on at the same time. But I found it actually rather abstract. And I say that because, well, it covered the basics of where to look for stuff. I personally, I haven't, been a student. When I was a student, I just used to. It was all physical, right? So I didn't have that experience of logging on to a student account and seeing what's on offer and how to navigate the bookstore system. And there was no virtual experience for us, like a sandbox to play around in. So kind of make us, see through the eyes of students as what they went through. Also, the brief training that was offered was not recorded. So hopefully we'll, have another session, or actually maybe a series of sessions, hopefully in the near future, where we can correct some of the stuff that was offered to us last year. So the website, this is where people can go for help. As you see, this is on the Morton College website, the Morton College Bookstore. But as you see, most of it is links out, links to outside the college. And well, there's a lot of good information on there. It's like, how many students are really going to go through this? It's been my experience that personally people like to just come in and get their answers or questions answered directly rather than navigating through a lot of links. But as you see, there is a good bit of information on there, FAQs and how to sell textbooks. But we obviously, like I mentioned before, we wanted to move away from, hey, just go here and you do it on your own, because obviously that could lead to a lot of user frustration. The thing is, when students eventually go through the process of accessing their online books or even ordering physical books, there's a lot of places they have to go through, and there's many interfaces still. And some students don't realize that it's not like a one-stop shop as far as logging onto one thing and then carrying it over to different things. They have to establish accounts with different publishers, like, for example, Pearson and Brightwave, um, and of course through the Morton College Bookstore. And of course, they could access this stuff through their Blackboard, which is the learning management system we have on campus. But several students, it's been our experience, they didn't know they had to create an account, or they had already created an account when they were in high school and they tried using the same email. Uh, or they forgot their password and they're trying to get back in. And it's, as you can see, it's a lot of user frustration in that respect. So yeah, there's still a lot of, it's not the most user friendly as of right now, but we're learning as staff. It was a learning process for us. So we kind of got our feet wet and were able to explain to students what they had to do and where they had to go, and to actually, create create accounts and keep track of your emails, and stuff can go into your spam. And it was a steep learning curve for all of us in the beginning. So I have an image here of the whack-a-mole because, every time I thought I had a good grip on what was going on, there would just be all these different situations that would come up. The challenge is, obviously, we're in a new space. So people, had to find out where we were, because, it seems like we're playing musical chairs at the last few years. We've had like three different homes. Adjustment period, both for learning to navigate our space, but also with duties. We're still providing basic library services. People have a lot of questions just for, databases, article citations. We're doing all that while at the same time getting all these other questions about bookstores. Of course, students want stuff right then and there because their assignments are due, right? So, and a lot of them obviously wait last minute to get access to their books that they need, and of course, then we feel kind of the pressure, at least I do, of like, oh, I got to help them right away because their assignment is due, and they have no clue how to access their courseware. So things could be a crunch, and we feel the pressure when students are needing their material right then and there. Of course, there was all kinds of issues accessing books. It could be, and that kind of covers the next bullet point: technology issues. Our bandwidth was kind of being maxed out at the beginning of the semester, so there was like slow response times. There were issues of people using Safari and not allowing cookies, and them not being able to access the course materials. They had to go through Chrome. Stuff would be it would slow things would slow down. They'd have to reboot their computers, and of course, we're all sitting there patiently waiting while all this other chaos is going on around us. But yeah, so we had issues that we had to figure out. Well, why do they have to enable cookies? Why do they have to do this and that? So it was a steep learning curve for everybody, because students were not getting to their materials right away. Of even, yeah, as far as returning physical materials, and I'll get to this in another slide, but even that was kind of confusing for students. They thought they had to come to us personally to return materials. And of course, we had to figure out who to contact and when. Uh, Different vendors have different, one you have to call, another they have chat bots on their websites. You go through it that way. But there's differences that we had to learn, and different representatives whose names we had to also learn along the way. And that wasn't the end of it, as you see. At the beginning of the semester, everybody's busy. I don't need to tell all the librarians on this presentation. We're busy helping, getting our stuff ready, flyers, and helping students not only navigate library questions like how do I check out a book, how do I make a request, but they're also coming to us with a lot of campus questions. Where do I go for this? How do I do that? So we have to point them in the right direction. So on top of all that, um, we also have had a new responsibility that we were kind of a little bit overwhelmed with. At least I want to say on my end at the beginning, because this is sitting down with a student, navigating through the bookstore could take a lot of time, while there's other demands being made on our time as well. I mentioned there's differences in vendors. So the other main issue is getting on the same page with instructors, because we would go through all our steps of, yeah, you have to go through this website, you have to sign up for that, and this is how you access, showing people where to go on Blackboard to access their course information. But at the same time, we could share all this correct information, but if professors do not activate their course links before the class meets, that all goes for naught. I mean, students can't access what they need. So again, we weren't really on the same page a lot of the time with professors, and they weren't activating their course links. Some of them did not realize they had to do so. Others, are adjuncts. They have all this other responsibility to do and to get through. So these are still wrinkles we have to iron out, and I hope we do so, and impress upon the professors the need to be on top of their game before the semester starts. Of course, sometimes semesters, some classes don't start right away. They start staggered. So maybe they're like, a student accesses, one of their classes and everything is hunky dory and fine, but one of their other classes they don't realize starts a little bit later. So their information is not, or their course information is not yet ready because their class is starting at a later time. We've also had some situations where professors do not use Follett et al., our bookstore company, to sell books. And students rely on going through Follett to apply their school issued voucher, like for financial aid. Guillermo, do you have any? I know you've had experience with that more than I have. Do you have anything to say about that? Like, or like, well, the student comes to us and says, yeah, okay, great. You showed me the online bookstore, but I know I have financial aid to apply to my purchase, but it's not there. Uh, Guillermo, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so when it comes to the professors bypassing Follett, we had a few professors here on campus who published their own books, and they were actually going through the publisher. The issue with there obviously was a student couldn't apply the voucher. Follett's the workaround there was Follett would purchase digital codes from the publisher to sell at the Follett bookstore, the virtual bookstore. So then the student would buy the digital code, and Follett would send them a physical envelope with the digital code to their house. And so the student had to wait the 7 to 10 days to get this before they actually got access to the book. So that was one. The other thing was, if this, depending on, there was a lot of things where some students had their voucher number, other students didn't. Some students had their voucher turned on, other students didn't. So it was another, like, there was a communication. You had to have better communication with financial aid. And so it was a student coming up to us asking us about book vouchers. We're showing them how to do it, and then when they go and put in their voucher, it doesn't work. And so we're like, and so then this is on us, like, when did you get your voucher, or when did you get your financial aid? And for the most part, students were like, well, I registered here, the financial aid went here, and the book voucher was here. And so our main issue when it came to vouchers were students trying to access their voucher maybe like 30 minutes after they had gone to financial aid, which didn't give financial aid enough time to activate, turn it on, and then reboot the system for them to have it there. So when it was stuff like that, we would tell the student, you have to wait till tomorrow for this to work.
Also, I
Students
believe
get,
there were also deadlines, right, for
yeah,
them to use it, and some of them didn't realize that.
yeah, and then students get frustrated. It's like you're sending them to different areas, to different offices to get help, and it's like it's the back and forth. And ironically enough, One Stop Center was supposed to cut down on this, but it's still like you're still going from office to office, and you're still having issues. So I can see where students get frustrated with this.
Okay, thanks. So, and also, the solution of everything being online, of course, not everything online is the correct information. Some problems I have here with the website. They were supposed to, and I think this worked at the beginning. They were supposed Students were supposed to enter their student ID and immediately come up with a list of their books, so they know right away what they had to purchase. That hasn't worked for a long time. We have to look into this. I don't know if it's again the bandwidth issue. As you see that little, if you could read that red print on the slide, it tells them, this is taking longer than expected. Please try again or select shop by course. And shop actually, when they put in, I think their courses, they do find what books are needed for them. But that's just one little kink in the system. Another thing, there's several parts, and I just picked a couple, several sections on the website where it kind of indicates to students that there's a physical bookstore. What I highlighted here, it says to avoid any late fees, we ask that you return all rented books to the bookstore. And just about a month ago, I had a student who said she was told she came with a physical book to us and said, "Hey, can you return this for me?" And we don't handle any shipment with bookstore purchases. And I don't know who told her that. She wasn't very specific with that, but she was under the impression that she could return stuff to us and we would handle it from then on there. but that was not the case. And of course, she was kind of exasperated at this point, saying, what are you? She said something like, "Are you serious? You guys don't have a physical bookstore?" And I felt her pain, but no, we don't do that part. That's something that they have to. They get email instructions at the end of their semester with instruction, like I think a shipping list or what am I packing label, I think, and it gives them instructions on how they could send back their materials. But no, we don't handle that. But some people still think that we take care of that. And of course, when there's stuff on the website that says contact your campus store for more information, they think there's still a physical, because you're saying campus, they think there's a physical store. So that's not the case. And if there was a case that there was one place that, we're not the main place, again, we're sharing responsibilities with other departments. So who do they contact? It's a little bit confusing for them. Just an example of some questions that came in through chat and through email since we really started. Just basics at the beginning of the semester. Where do I buy my books? And that kind of leads me to think, well, this happened right at the beginning of the semester. I'm wondering what's being told to students at orientation. That's something we have to find out. Are they being given a little bit of a good intro to the whole book buying process? Will the financial aid help me get an ebook? Do you know how to return rentals? Again, that's kind of, a lot of times they don't check their emails that give them the instructions of how to return rentals. So we get those questions in person or online through chat, through email. Even as late as January, again, I don't know if it was a brand new student though, but we still had questions like, can we rent books or only buy them from the Morton Library? Again, we don't handle any sales. We kind of help with customer service, but we don't handle cash or credit cards or things of that like that. And again, one of the questions we get a lot is about access codes, so people can, in fact, access their course materials online. They get these access codes, but unfortunately, it doesn't work for them, and they need help from us in accessing their coursework in Pearson. It's been my experience that a lot of times these are like they get some temporary passwords sent to their email, but of course, then we log in and we see they haven't checked their email, they haven't opened that email in more than 3 days or a week, and that temporary password is no good anymore. So they have to go through the process all over again. So that's been another issue. So I've covered in depth a lot of the problems we've had, but we've also had successes. As you see, I think the picture indicates somebody being able to access their code in Pearson. No, just joking. Our students are young, but they're not that young. But they do look happy. So when they're happy, we also become happy. So anyway, we've had these students who maybe would have not have ever thought of entering the library. They are coming to us, so we have kind of a captive audience. So we're using that time to kind of market what they can do. What library services are also on offer, like interlibrary loan. That book costs a lot. You might be able to find it online. We're in the iShare program. We have an agreement of lending and borrowing with over 90 other schools. Take advantage of it. So we're able to introduce interlibrary loan to them. Of course, during COVID, our reserve collection, had reached the lowest it's been in years. We had to. There were a lot of abandoned print materials. We had to contact instructors saying, "Do you still want this? Do you want to take it back?" But as we came back on campus, and I think a lot of instructors saw that students were having these issues with paying for books or even accessing the books, all the problems with that, we started getting the word out that even though we're in a much reduced, smaller space, we still have enough space where we can house your books for reserves. And so we've seen our reserve collection expand. More instructors are buying a copy or donating a copy of their textbook that they're using for the course to the library, so we could lend it out to students on, mostly like a 3-hour basis for use within the library. So that's been a good positive. Uh, Again, we're bringing people into the library. They're seeing what we've got on offer, that we have group study rooms they may not have been aware of, and they're very popular. But people are also seeing this is a quiet space. They can use some of our tables and some of our desktops, our Apple computers. We're basically drawing them in because we're providing an extra service as far as service with the bookstore. So that's good on getting our name out, and it's also demonstrating that our expertise and value, because we're not just like one trick ponies with the library. We could also provide help in other areas like the bookstore. Some of the recommendations that I have, and I hope this could be of help if anybody's in the same position or maybe trending that way. But I would like to see a survey conducted of students about their experience with ordering and accessing bookstore. I mean, I don't have anything to go on as far as formal surveys, so I'm just providing anecdotal evidence. But I think if administrators see this, what their experience has been, they would pay more attention to possibly training the students at orientation to go through the process, through the steps. It would kind of catch their attention that, hey, we need some more training or we need some more help here. I would also suggest this is, something that may be a no-brainer, but as of right now, we don't have like a listserv or a committee really incorporating staff from other departments on campus that deal with these issues. And I know everyone's busy, but I think, if we had some kind of email list where if the library came across this problem and we wanted to share it with others who may come across this tomorrow or next week, we'd all be on the proverbial same page. So we'd all know what the experience is and what's the best possible solution to offer, because we've dealt with this ourselves, and this knowledge may be of use to your department as well. And of course, it contributes to more communication and teamwork on campus. For any updates, I would suggest also meet a couple of times a year with representatives from Follett and the other vendors like Pearson and Brightwave, so we can see what's new, what maybe bring our concerns to their attention. They could provide us with possible solutions, or they might tweak their information and the ways they do things based on the feedback we're providing for them. And just this is my own personal, a lot of, when the bookstore went away, so did a lot of the extra supplies that they were selling, like pencils and pens, notebooks, folders. So right now, yeah, people can get that online virtually, but I think there's something to be said for the old fashioned. I need it now, and I want to get it right now, then and there. So maybe we're not going to bring back a physical bookstore, but we could have some vending machines that provides people with the option of buying these materials. Because right now we could handle like the low cost items. We could do it. We could give people for free some pencils or pens, but as of right now, people come to us, ask us for envelopes, things like that, scissors, and glue. I mean, we do as much as we can to provide them then and there, but it's also some stuff that the bookstore provided is, in my opinion, missed. So to end up this presentation, I don't know. I'd like to open it up for discussion. As far as the wave of the future, yeah, we have to think to ourselves. We want to maybe revisit our policy of purchasing more books, at least more books in demand, the print fit, or even the electronics, so we can provide the best possible cost alternative to our students. Expand our footprint with reserves, and give people what they need when they need it, and to offset costs and provide right one-on-one service right then and there. And is this something, again, to open it up for discussion, that you all think can you all can adopt at your college? Is this something that would work at your library with the staff you have and the concerns? It's all, wearing, again, the common term is, wearing many hats, or doing more with less, right? So is this something that college is looking to, for cost savings and for new uses of space on campus? Is this something that you feel could happen at your places, your institutions? So at this point, yeah, if you have any comments or questions, glad to open it up to hear from everyone.
Well, I'm going to jump in and say, first off, I really hope your institution recognizes what the links you've gone to try and provide that support and service. I think, as Guillermo mentioned earlier, there's some sense of irony of creating the kind of the one-stop shop, and then introducing more technology that just kind of pushes everybody back out again and doesn't really resolve those frustrations. I think to some degree or another, it's probably something we've all had to deal with, juggling a lot of things. And second off, I hope I never have to deal with that. Good on you guys for tackling this and embracing the change and supporting your students. But oh wow, that's a lot to shoulder.
Yeah, and obviously we're a smaller community college, but yeah, I don't know. This would probably be out of the question for larger institutions, but I think most of us are, at least the ones attending this meeting, are from community colleges. So does anybody else see this as a possibility? Anyway, how have been if not, maybe I should ask a question of what have been the relationship between the bookstore and the library at your institution?
Hi,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. I think this is something that I think our campuses are really struggling with how to handle best. On our campus, we have a locally operated bookstore. So the campus operates our bookstore still at Moraine Valley Community College. And I think that will stay this way for a very long time, as our support staff union president is in charge of the bookstore. So that'll probably continue for a while. So and I think every campus has their own solutions for sure. I think that this is a lot for the library to take on, and for you guys to be asked to do, especially with the reduction otherwise in your services. I think that they've really thrown you all into a whirlwind of change over the past couple of years. And so I'm kind of wondering, how do you feel like the support for the library side of your let's quote unquote business, right? Because we're all kind of serving people, is being handled on campus. How do you think that the campus is seeing your value? Has that changed in the past couple of years? Has that been also impacted by the bookstore shift too?
So when it comes to the value of the library, the only thing that that has diminished has been the space. However, like all the students, even when we were in the smaller space, they all wanted more quiet study space. And ironically, the space that we're in now, the majority of it, we're a quiet library. Like we tell people to take their phone calls outside. We have study rooms. The study rooms are used a lot. They're never empty. And then on top of that, when students do get in there, we make them know that it's a study room. Understand that these aren't soundproof, so we can hear everything you're doing and saying. And the other thing is, like, we provide technology in the study room, so there are monitors, there's Apple TVs where they can mirror their devices to. We've had students come in there and try to watch TV, and we're like, no, and we're like, unless you're watching this for a class, and I'm going like this, all you have to do is tell me you're watching it for a class. And they're like, no, we're not watching it for a class. And I'm just like, okay, then you have to turn it off. But it's stuff like that. The other thing is, I think our value has grown with this, and the reason is because students have to come to us to solve their issues. And they're some of them are very some of them can be very simple. It can be as simple as creating a login. Okay. Others can be very convoluted where, okay, you have to create an account with Follett, then you have to create an account with Brightway, then you have to create an account with Pearson. Oh, we did all that, none of that worked. Oh, now you have to go to your teacher because your teacher hasn't added you to the class, or oh, your teacher hasn't opened the virtual class for you. Oh, it's not a Brightwave or a Pearson book. No, it's a different book. Oh, so now we have to go to another platform to get that book. And then it's like, and then they're like, well, I should have this book. It's included with the class. And so you go through all the steps and there's nothing there. And so then you have to go back, look up the class and find out that no, the book is not included in the class. You have to order the book. You see where this has money on it and there's a check mark there. You have to make sure you order the book. The the other thing is when some of the material is included with the class, there are prices there. The only difference is there's no check mark for them to check. And so that can be confusing as well. And it goes back to what Tom said. During orientation, what are the students learning about how to order their books? And this may be something that we have to actually talk with admissions about, and maybe get on the same page with them, or maybe make a presentation on behalf of the bookstore via the library in order for students to understand what they really need to do to get their books. And so that's why I mean, like, value wise, I think our value has grown because of this.
I would agree with what Guillermo had to say. I don't have that much more to add to that. I mean, at the beginning, it was stressful, I would say, speaking for me, just to figure out how everything worked, especially since it was at the beginning of the semester as well. And, we have all these other people coming in and they're utilizing a new space. They're like, well, how do I use these group study rooms? Do I have to reserve them? We're getting all kinds of questions. Like, as I mentioned before, just campus related, because people are just wandering into places and we're trying to figure out all this new stuff. So it was kind of very hectic, but that's to be expected for the first time. Hopefully things, and I think things went a little bit easier at the beginning of the spring semester, but we know that more new students come on campus at the beginning of the fall semester. So it's yet to be seen how we handle this experience again come August of this year. But I think we have some experience, some stories that we've, I mean, some dialogue we've had with each other. We've had experience dealing with these different issues that prepares us more, and yeah, hopefully it's always nice to feel recognized on campus. I mean, we haven't been formally. It would be nice if at the next all staff meeting or something, they formally get they recognize us somehow. But that hasn't happened, at least so far. But I think we're just happy that we know ourselves that we're providing something that's beneficial to students right now. Anybody else have anything to add or any comments, questions?
I have one more question if no one else has one. Do you think you've seen an increase in OER adoption since you've moved to a virtual bookstore?
I can take this.
Okay.
So on our campus, we've seen some OER adoption, but there hasn't been a lot. What we have seen a little bit more of is self-publishing, and by some of the professors in order to help cut the cost of textbooks for their students. However, this goes back to the whole students not being able to use vouchers. Um, and and so it's kind of a hindrance because the professors are trying to lower the cost, the burden of buying a textbook, but they're going through a different publisher that has no affiliation with Follett. And so then it causes another step or another barrier for the student to actually be able to get the textbook and use the financial aid that they have available to them. And so that's where Follett came up with the workaround I mentioned earlier. And it's a great workaround, but it delays some of the students. And then this in turn causes us to reach out to the professor and be like, do you want to put your book on our reserve? So that way those students that have to wait for their financial aid can still have access to the material. And the majority of them say yes. And so like Tom said, our faculty reserves have grown. We actually had one department bring every single book that they use in every single one of their classes down to us for us to put on their faculty reserve. In addition to that, we have the Library of Things collection. They brought us a skeleton and a muscle man as well for students to check out. So they've grown our collection for their program for their students. And so that is one department that's actually paying attention to what we're saying and actually doing the best that they can for their students. And so that is, again, communications, and then again, growing our value and their value at the same time. One other thing to mention when it comes to e-resources, devices will play a very, very different role. Meaning if somebody is on a laptop versus a desktop versus a tablet, you're going to have very different issues with every single one of those. So that is one thing to consider if you ever go towards a virtual bookstore and the platforms.
Thanks so much, guys, for answering my questions. I really appreciate your presentation today.
Thanks. You're welcome.
I'm going to jump in really quick and just remind everybody I did drop the link to the feedback form in the chat. We would greatly appreciate if you could fill that out and give us some responses, some ideas, and thoughts on also what we could do in the future. So that would be greatly appreciated. Anyone else have anything at all for the good of the cause here as we wrap up this presentation? Thank you again, both of you, so much for sharing this with us. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I got, wow, a whole lot out of it. It's an impressive amount of work you guys have done this past couple years, and this pivoting you've done, all in the name of serving students, which is, in my book, the most admirable thing that we do. So,
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Okay, thanks again, and we'll see everybody again. I believe, Brian, it's April 25th, I think, is our next session, if I recall correctly.
Let me look real quick. Well, we're here. Sorry, April 30th.
I should have looked at. Oh, April 30th. Okay, that gives us a little more time.